sorry, kiddo, I really am. You have a good soul. And I hate giving good people bad news.
I'm Tony, he's Mike, and because we enjoy bagging on the cast of Family Ties, we're doing 1987's Light of Day.
Well, come on! 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
A brother and a sister who work to keep their dreams alive.
A good singer, Joey.
Michael J. Fox, Gena Rowlands, Joan, Jett in a Paul Schrader film, Light of Day.
Anybody want to rock and roll?
If you've been following along this summer, we did Justine Bateman and Satisfaction, and I had a theory on why that movie was made and why Justine Bateman chose to be in that one, and this is the response to that one. So you want to walk us through the cast on this one?
I'm just going to introduce the main people. We got Joan Jett as Patty. We got Michael J. Fox as Joe, who plays the brother to Patty. Mm-hmm. And then there's, what's his name?
Michael McKean. He's the guy from Spinal Tap who's now on Better Call Saul as the older brother.
Yeah, that guy. And so the basic plot is this. We got those three characters and a couple other guys in this band called the Bar Busters.
Because we know the magic words.
Rock and roll! Party!
They're based out of Cleveland. They start out with this crappy song written by Bruce Springsteen called Light of Day. Worst song in the movie, hilariously.
It really is.
It is.
It was pretty bad.
It's really bad. So anyways, Joe works at a plant with McKean, and the plant shuts down. And so they take this opportunity to take the band on the road.
Yep.
You can get booked into bars in Erie, Akron, Mansfield. I mean, you got no job. Boo's got no job. Let's get serious.
And I'm sorry, I'm really skimming through this.
It's okay.
There's no
It's better this
shenanigans
way.
ensuing in this.
Yeah, no.
So while they're on the road, they're discovering that being a touring band sucks dick. It doesn't pay worth the shit.
225 against 3, 50% of the door, 2 sets, 945 to 2, and drinks half price.
Hang on right there. I don't pay more than $175 for a band without an album.
They're all living in one hotel room and cooking on hot plates.
The girls stay 40, minus 80 gas, 25 bar fund, 30 for that tire, 130 for the groceries, 270 motel, hell. That leaves 285.
And not only that, but Joan Jett has a young son, Benji, who's probably like 4 or 5 or something like that.
Probably right around 4 or 5, yeah.
And he's on the road with them. Well, Joan Jett picks up this male groupie, and they're shopping through the grocery store. And
shoplifting through the grocery store.
And they get Benji involved in it. They shove a couple steaks in Benji's coat.
Come on.
What's the matter? You're doing good.
I think we're covered. Ready, badge?
Let's get out.
And Michael J. Fox sees this and is like, I have enough of this. No, you're not getting Benji involved in this crap. Yeah. Takes Benji, goes home. And because of that, the band pretty much breaks up at that point.
Yes.
What bullshit is this?
You gotta use a 5-year-old blue steaks from a supermarket.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Shut your lying mouth!
Steaks.
Yes.
Joan Jett's pissed off about this because she really needs to get out there and.
It's all about playing rock and roll. It's not about the fame. It's not about the limos. It's not about the record deals. It's about the beat. It is about rock and roll.
Yeah. And so on top of all this too, Joan Jett and the mother have a terrible relationship going on there.
Joan Jett is an unwed mother who will not tell her mother who the father is.
I know that you know who the father is too, Joe. You do know it.
You don't know me. I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah. And it is a source of constant tension and mystery throughout the entire thing.
And the mother's not quite a holy roller, but very
churchy.
Very churchy.
Yeah.
Very churchy.
Well, she's married to Damien Karras, who apparently left the Catholic Church after that exorcism went all awry.
That's who that is. I was wondering the whole time that guy looks very familiar.
You know, she really likes having you around to talk to. I never know what to say.
That makes complete sense now. Okay. So anyways, So the band breaks up, and the plant opens back up, so Joe goes back to work with
Michael McKean. Yeah.
Michael McKean finds another band to jam with. Joan Jett finds another band called the Huns to jam with. So she's going back on the road, and Joe's like, nope, you're not taking Benji. I'm going to take care of Benji. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Benji comes with me. He ain't staying with us.
He ain't going on the road.
Well, I am, and you or nobody else can stop me.
A little later down the line, the mother gets sick. They find out she has cancer.
Yes.
Has ovarian cancer. In a woman her age, there's no symptoms until the cancer moves somewhere else.
So everybody comes back. Joan Jett comes back.
Well, the Huns actually broke up too. That was one of the other things that they kind of drop it very quickly. But yeah, the Huns dissolved as a band. So she's either looking for a new gig, so she's got to return home for a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Yeah. So anyways, they find out that she's sick. Joan Jett and the mom reconcile.
Have I done anything so terrible that I can't be forgiven?
No.
Oh.
And here's where the bomb comes. The bomb is dropped on who Benji's father is.
Yes.
Benji's father is the
pastor. Yes, reverend, pastor, whatever. It is the mother's trusted confidant, the one that she goes to with all her problems, the reverend for their church. And it turns out when she was 16, he took advantage of her, and that's why she quit going to church and came out as very anti-churchy and wanted nothing to do with it or to talk about it.
Patty, I'm so glad you could come.
And so they now have an understanding, so mom can die.
Yep. And then everybody pretty much reconciles and gets back together, and at the end, the Bar Busters are back in Cleveland, rocking out again.
Yeah.
And roll credits.
First off, I'm going to say this is a deeply flawed film. There is no two ways about this. But I'm going to take issue with this. Now, when we talked about Satisfaction, I told you that I thought Justine Bateman took it because she was a little jealous. And I remember telling you that Justine Bateman said that her movie was like Fox's.
Can't see someone a little class. I say we do it.
Well, let's vote on it.
This is more like Fox's than Satisfaction ever dreamed of being. This movie, okay, first off, it's very dark. It's very honest about a lot of things, especially about what happens to a lot of bands.
Yeah.
You can be an aspiring musician, you can have all the talent in the world, but it's going to come down to, do you enjoy playing with the people that you're playing with? And you get to see this like...
Well, can you tolerate the people that you're playing with?
Yeah. With the Bar Busters, they have this chemistry. They all like each other. They get along. And when they go on the road, the fact that it doesn't pay shit, it's the money issue that really drives them to just say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Plus, there is, Michael McKean's character is married, and his wife is missing him, and he has kids. And so, there's a lot of things that work against a road band.
Oh, yeah.
Is really what it boils down to. And while they're doing, they're gaining a following, but at what cost? And that's why they decide, what time to tap out, because now we've got the kid involved in a criminal enterprise.
You, loser. Get your loser ass out of here, okay? As fast as your loser legs can take you. You're messing around with my family.
You have Joan Jett and Michael J. Fox's mother in this that is basically telling Joan Jett she's a crappy mother. And then you have that realization that Joan Jett is like, okay, look, the lifestyle that I want to lead, the fact that I want to pursue music and I want to give everything else up, everything else comes a distant second to me being on stage. I am a crappy mother. That realization is really hardcore and really honest.
Look, Benji's starting school in the fall. He's all excited. Got a picture of me, weren't you?
Look, Benji don't belong to me right now. He belongs to Mother.
And so she agrees to leave Benji with Michael J. Fox. And he finds out that, you know what, he loves music and he loves his sister, but he likes actually being responsible and taking care of people too, including his mother, including Benji, even including his father, who, like, literally, okay, Damian Karras is a real charismatic character, and when you see him in The Exorcist, he's got this presence, this vibe, this thing. The camera loves him, and he comes off as like so serious. And this movie is such a departure from that character. The fact that he's a very lonely man within his own house.
We don't talk much. We don't go out much. But I can't complain.
And he wants his children to reconcile with their mother, but he's not going to inject himself into that because it's such a shit show, you know. He's trying to just keep the peace, and the mom keeps, like, you know, pulling out the, oh, well, let's say grace, and you know, not knowing why that's going to set Joan Jett off, but it does, and so this fucked family dynamic is really compelling.
Hey, look, I told her, I warned her, I was real clear. I told her if she mentioned church or rock and roll or marriage, I'd walk out of the room if I was in it, hang up the phone if I was on it.
And that's one of the fatal flaws in this movie. If it was at least hinted at a little bit, not outright exposed, but at least hinted at that, you know, this thing happened with the preacher, pastor, whatever it is. I could have, like, excused, like, Joan Jett's performance in this and her character flaws in there, because you're watching this whole thing and Joan Jett is insufferable in this fucking movie. She's really hard to watch, and it's not her fault. She acts it very well. The problem is she acts it too damn well.
What's your problem? You want to be so good someday you don't have to shit?
There's nothing to, like, give her any redeeming qualities until the very end when it's revealed that, hey, she got knocked up by the fucking pastor. So of course she's going to have a problem with all this churchy fucking bullshit.
And she's acting out. She's acting out against her mother. She's acting out against her father. She doesn't want anybody telling her what she can and can't do because, you know what, she's suffered enough. At least that's how she sees it. It's a surprisingly interesting performance. I'm not going to say it's a great performance, but it's a good enough performance for what this is. And she does well by the material, but she doesn't elevate the material. And you're absolutely right about this. If she had been a little bit more likable, a little bit more relatable, if she had had a few more human moments, that would have improved this film greatly. I get the appeal of Joan Jett. She's attractive, and she's young, and she's definitely a rock and roll star. This is post her being in The Runaways and post her doing, you know, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. So she was a known quantity. So naturally, you know, segueing her to film, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, when you do a movie about a band, you have a bunch of issues to deal with because there's all the tropes that you've got to deal with. And Satisfaction ate every one of those tropes up and then came back for a second helping.
Look, you see these idiots over here? Do you? They think they're gonna be stars. They sit there and they talk deals, demos, limos.
Of it. This is a smarter script. It intentionally shows you the reality of how shitty it is to be in a band sometimes, to be an up-and-comer and never actually arrive. Paying your dues.
Did you ever hear me talk like that? No. I go out there every night just to hear the beat.
Is hard fucking work. That's why most bands don't fucking make it. I mean, you put in all that fucking time and effort, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of times you gotta give up fucking everything to achieve it.
And the other thing that I thought was interesting was that there's this little subculture of musicians that are in bands, and when the Barbusters break up and they all go their separate way, they all kind of go into different directions. And you know, Michael McKean's character winds up playing in like this 80s pop band that like, you know, works out of the hotels. He just works nights and weekends, and that's great. He can keep his factory job and put bread on the table. And his wife, while we only get a couple glimpses of her, is obviously very supportive and very understanding, and she likes the band members, and she brings them chicken and all that.
All right.
I kind of adored that about this. That you know, here's this guy, and he obviously has the ability, but he needs some support, and he's getting that support. Even if he fails, he's won.
Yeah.
Because he gets that creative outlet. We don't really get a whole lot about the drummer.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point, because you said in Satisfaction you don't get a whole lot of development of the characters. Yeah. Here, you don't get any development of any member of the band other than
Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett.
Yeah, and you get
Michael
glimpses
McKean.
of Michael McKean.
Yeah.
The rest of the people is when I mean the fucking band.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely. Well, I mean, in Satisfaction, it's just a vehicle for Justine Bateman to suck. But this one, I'm not going to say Michael J. Fox sucked. I'm going to say Michael J. Fox was a miscast in that he's a very likable guy. You want to root for Michael J. Fox no matter what role he's in. You want to be Michael J. Fox's friend. He just seems like a good guy, a genuine guy.
Besides, she doesn't hate you. Nobody hates you.
Aw, son of a bitch.
A kind guy, a giving guy, all that, and he is. But what I never buy Michael J. Fox is a rock and roller, that's the whole thing. And he grows his hair out and he gets his ear pierced and he can play the guitar.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
We know that. Yeah. We know all of that. But at no point do I ever see him as being the guy that's like, yes, I'm in it to win it. I am here. I'm going to pay my fucking dues. I'm going to go out. I'm going to be a fucking rock star. I never get that from him. I get he's a really enthusiastic hobbyist who can afford really nice guitars.
Yeah. Now, for me, it's the Bar Busters or nothing.
And it's especially at that time, it's hard to not think of him as either Alex P. Keaton or Marty McFly.
Exactly. The baggage of his success is what weighs this movie down. So we have Joan Jett giving a performance that kind of lacks dimensionality, and then we have Michael J. Fox, who has all of these dimensions. It's just he's the wrong package for all of those dimensions.
And the other thing too, this thing is way over dramatic. It's so melodrama.
Very much so. Yeah,
it's
very much so.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of Satisfaction. I mean, they're bookends of a spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So and that's the problem. Both movies need to meet somewhere in the middle.
I'm going to say that I appreciate this movie more because it feels more honest. It feels very truncated because this movie was like an hour and 30 minutes. Yeah. I mean, if this was a 2-hour movie and we got a little bit more of through line and character growth and all that, I would have felt better about this movie. But the thing is that it feels like all of that organic tissue was cut out so that we could just get to all of these plot points of, the road sucks and being in a band member and having being a teen mother sucks and having a religious mom sucks and having a lonely dad sucks and, hey, funerals suck and, hey, by the way, the Bar Busters, they kind of suck too.
You call my name, but I gotta make clear. I can't say, baby, where I'll be in a year.
The music is there.
So Joan Jett's song with the Huns is actually pretty good.
Yes. Yes.
And then there's another song that she sings with the Bar Busters. I think it's the second song in there. I can't remember what it is, but it's actually pretty decent as well.
Light of Day, written by Bruce Springsteen for
garbage.
This film. It's bad.
It's so bad. And then you got the cameo appearance by the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Yes.
You also get a cameo appearance from Trent Reznor.
Yes, he is actually. I have that in my notes.
Sometimes we'll sigh. Sometimes we'll cry.
His bandmate, Frankie Vale, him and Trent Reznor were both in a band called the Exotic Birds. And this was before Trent Reznor parted ways with them, and in 1989 dropped Pretty Hate Machine and crushed it on his own.
Yes, he
He
did.
realized Trent Reznor don't need nobody. Because he don't. But
yeah. So, Bruce Springsteen wrote a song. Oh, This Means War was the song I was talking about, written by Joan Jett and some other people. You have the appearance by the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Cleveland Rocks. That song sucks dick.
Yes, and Drew Carey didn't do it.
Didn't do any favors at all. Bon Jovi wrote a song, Only the Lonely, that appears in this.
And there was a Motley Crue song on the soundtrack too when Michael J. Fox walks into the bar. And the Huns were getting ready to perform. Motley Crue was playing in the background, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But it wasn't like Home Sweet Home. It was actually one of their good albums.
I can't remember what's on the top of the head. And then Michael J. Fox wrote that Got No Place to Go thing in there. So that's my notes.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as the music goes, the music isn't bad. It feels very much like the kind of songs that a bar band would write. And so I get it in that regard. It stays honest to its intention. I'm also going to say that at no point do you ever feel like this band is like just that one gig away from super success. No, they're a fucking bar band, and that's all they aspire to be.
You know, the Barbusters were a great band.
Is a bar band. And I'm also going to say that it's not until they go off trying to chase fame and fortune that they kind of wind up being more disappointed or disheartened than anything. And again, that feels genuine. They found a group of people that they enjoy playing with. They have local fans that treat them like heroes and celebrities in their own little bar. And at the beginning of it, that's where they start, and they have to go through all this shit to realize, no, you know what? That's enough.
Does anyone want to party? Does anyone want to rock and roll?
That's enough right there. We have our own little group. And it kind of reminds me, there's a local band here in St. Louis that were originally the Finn Brothers, and then they just shortened it to the Finns because another group came out of nowhere calling themselves the Finn Brothers. And I'm a huge fan of the Finns. I love all three of the albums of theirs that I have. And they occasionally get back together and they play at a bar, and it sells out instantly because they've got that local fan base. But while they had the talent and the ability, I don't know if they just didn't want to go outside of the St. Louis area, or if they just decided, if they just never got the break. They were definitely good enough, but that's kind of how I feel about the Barbusters. That's why this feels so compelling and interesting to me, is that, you know what? We can have a home, we can have a family, we don't have to do this road shit. We're not looking for big record contracts, we're not looking for fame and fortune and money and this and that. And Joan Jett actually has a line in here where she says, you never heard me talk about that shit like those bozos over there.
Look, you see these idiots over here? Do you? They think they're gonna be stars. They sit there and they talk deals, demos, limos.
And which I thought, that's very honest. For her, it really is all about the music. So, I really enjoyed this film. I really feel like Justine Bateman was intentionally trying to sabotage this film in that interview. I think she was trying to sell her film and unsell Michael J. Fox's film.
But this film came out first. Hers came out after.
I'm still trying to figure out why she referred to this as more of a lighthearted comedy.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
I
this
have
movie
no
was
idea.
fucking dark as night. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I did not enjoy this film. At all. And to be honest with you, if I had to pick between the two, like if he was like, you're going to watch one of these movies tonight, it's either Light of Day or Satisfaction, I'm sorry, I'm going Satisfaction.
Wow.
This movie is so fucking depressing. Joan Jett is so fucking insufferable that I will not watch this movie again.
I'm not going to tell you I'm going to run out and buy it. I'm not going to tell you I would ever watch it again. This was really more of a, well, let's see what Justine Bateman was talking about. I remember seeing this like years and years ago, like 30 years plus, like right around the time that it dropped on cable eventually. But at no point did I ever feel like this was like a comedy. So after we did the Satisfaction episode and I read that interview by her, I was like, wait, is that true? Is that the case? Let's go see. I mean, which it kind of makes sense because Michael J. Fox was famous for doing his comedy roles, like, Doc Hollywood and The Secret of My Success. And so he had all these charming character roles. And if you never saw this movie, you might lump it into that. But this was legitimately Michael J. Fox attempting to do something that was a little heavier, a little more serious, and a little more dramatic.
And I think you nailed it right there. Why he's not believable or you don't see him in this role is because this is the first time you see him in a serious dramatic fucking role.
Yeah.
So
speaking of first times, speaking of first times, I just want to talk about this, and then I've got a couple of notes, and then we're done here. But this is one of the very few movies. Michael J. Fox was a chain smoker, and this is one of the few movies that he actually smoked on camera, and the reason for that is he did not want to promote smoking. So yes, Michael J. Fox is that good of a guy. He hid his nasty habit from you so that you wouldn't pick it up.
Okay. Here's what you wrote. Ain't much. Slow week.
This movie was originally written for Bruce Springsteen. And he got the script and decided he didn't want to go that route. He didn't want
Good call, Bruce.
That's why he agreed to actually write the song for it.
Bad call, Bruce.
Yes. So he wrote it, which ironically, the song actually peaked at number 33 on the Hot 100 Billboard chart.
Never heard the song before in my fucking life till I watched this movie.
It happened. But it's Bruce Springsteen, and he was kind of like,
Yeah.
So for him to drop it. We were talking about Trent Reznor. This film is supposed to all take place in Cleveland. It was shot all over Illinois. The budget I could not find information on. The box office on this film was 10.5. It did make money. I do know that.
How?
Well, the other thing is...
Because fucking Michael J. Fox alone probably commanded a good chunk of fucking money.
Here's why. Well, probably, but it's also like, if you get a script and you really like the idea of doing that kind of a character, you get to break out and do a dramatic role. So I understand why
you may take a pay cut.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Michael J. Fox agreeing to star in this film is the reason why this film got made after Bruce Springsteen backed out. The director of the film said Joan Jett's casting was a problem. He felt that this movie could have been more than it was, but Joan Jett had already been cast, and when he went back and he watched the film during post-production, he was like, maybe that wasn't the greatest casting. He actually said that the casting was problematic. Michael McKean, by the way, he wound up in this film because he was in Spinal Tap, and so you got to get some rock cred, and you can't just have Joan Jett and Michael J. Fox up on stage. You got to get Spinal Tap going on. Paul Schrader is who wrote this film. And if that means nothing to you, I'm going to tell you that if you want to know where the dark undertones of this film come from, Paul Schrader wrote Taxi Driver and American Gigolo. He doesn't do happy. He does dark.
You have no business doing this fucking movie. No. Fuck you.
No, I'm going to say
Fuck
that...
you. No, because this is way too heavy. About a band... No, come on.
I'm going to say that this was kind of a thing that needed to happen.
No.
In that it's a juxtaposition to movies like where you have the band that they're talented and they're up and comers, and it just shows nothing but the light and airy side of rock, and it has fame and fortune is the goal. This actually shows finally that you can love playing music and you can love doing it for an audience and all that one, but sometimes shit just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm going to retract that previous statement. Fuck you to the director for making this fucking heavy and so fucking melodramatic. Because you're right. Everything that's in here feels genuine and feels very real and honest. So I'm going to retract that statement, but fuck you for making it this fucking heavy. The directing was no.
I'm going to say they could have touched on several of the points of this film.
Yeah.
And it not feel so fucking dark.
Yeah.
This literally felt like, light of day. That's because you're at the end of the tunnel. Holy shit. and that might be intentional, but I just feel like I feel like the whole point of this movie was to let young people know, hey, you know what? A job in music isn't all this, fun and daydream and 24-hour party.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. I think that was the whole point of it. And you could have made a very compelling film based on just that idea, without having to go into the single mother and taken advantage of by the we could have dropped all the religious crap. You literally could have just had a religious mom that was all like, rock and roll is the devil's music, and I don't want you going out there. You should join the choir. that still would have worked.
You burn your Kiss records.
I'm going to tell you this right now. This movie right here just cements in my head how fucking good the 5 Heartbeats really is. Because
we'll have to watch that at some point.
Yeah, because it deals with the heavy side of fame, but at no point does it feel this dragged down.
Well, what are we doing doing that, or?
We're doing Hard to Hold next, because we already did a movie about a sitcom star that wanted to be a rock star, but she didn't have the chops. Now we had one that they actually went and got a rock star and a sitcom star, and this one just kind of there. So let's see what happens when you get a legitimate rock star who is an actor, and you make a movie. And so Hard to Hold is coming up later this summer. Stay tuned for that shit. Can't wait.
So, are you recommending this?
I am tentatively recommending this one in that it's an interesting idea. I don't know. This is not the execution. It's not terribly well done, but there is obviously something to talk about when it comes to this film. So it's interesting in that regard, but I'm not going to tell you it's a good movie, but it is a fascinating movie. So is it a recommend? Yeah, but don't buy it.
Yeah. It's not a recommend for me at all. Even if you're curious, I just don't think there's enough there to really get it. Again, Joan Jett is so over the top dramatic, and the fact they don't reveal why she's that way till the very end really makes this film suffer. I will say this: it did warm my heart when the Bar Busters got back together at the very end. It's a very heartwarming ending, but.
It's a satisfying conclusion to the film. It
But-
didn't feel forced either. There was no record asshole in the audience going, "Hey, I love your stuff. Call me. We'll talk and do a demo." None of that bullshit.
But
So-
just you, not the rest of the band.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
shit. So. Anything else you got?
This was so cathartic. I feel good after this review. I feel lightened, and I just feel like, fuck you, Justine Bateman. We done?
Yeah, I guess so.
We will catch you next time.